Kampala in general. Yes, yesterday, shortly after the announcement was made, we made some preliminary remarks in response to a decision taken to relieve some senior managers or top managers here of their duties. But now we have the official statement, official position on the way forward. As you are aware, yesterday afternoon, the country received a communication from State House to the effect that 3 senior officials within the institution had been dismissed forthwith. That is the Executive Director, KCCA, the Deputy Executive Director, Engineer Ruimbazi, as well as the Director of Public Health, Daniel Okero. And in the same statement, the Minister for Kampala was instructed to appoint one of the members of staff here to serve as the ED in acting capacity as well as Deputy ED. There was also a directive to cause the process of getting a new getting replacements for these positions commenced by way of adverts placed in the papers by the Public Service Commission. All those processes, we understand, require time. But as we speak right now, the institution is in sort of a quandary, in that the leadership, management is not fully constituted as we speak. Yet they play a critical role in the functioning of the institution of KCCA. You are aware, under this law, Section 19, the office of the ED, who is the head of public service in the authority and the head of administration of the authority, as well as the divisions and wards. The ED in this case, under Section 19 here, is the head of public service in the authority and also head of the administration. It is also stated under the same provision that the ED is the accounting officer. And in all these other subsections, it is the technical advisor on administrative and legal matters pertaining to the management of the council and all these other matters. Right now, that position is vacant. We do not have, I don't need to mention this, we do not have in our midst anybody serving as the ED until the Minister for Kampala designates one of the members of staff to serve in that position. What does that mean now? A bit of paralysis. Members of staff are now in disarray. They don't know what's going to happen next. Yesterday, by close of business yesterday, they had an acting ED, Engineer Ruimbazi. Indeed, he spent the whole of yesterday here, up to around 5 or 6, because we left him around. Now the staff reported to office today morning to find that they have no superior, they have no, and this is the accounting officer. Obviously, you know the functions and duties of the accounting officer. There are monies to spend. There are things to do which require vetting and approval of the Office of the Executive Director. So that's where we are now. For the head of public service, no, rather for the head of public health, it's a different matter. That one we could continue with the deputy, because the deputy was not sacked, all the managers are there. But now, all these other junior staff, the managers, the supervisors, even directors at different levels, have nowhere to report to as of this morning. So it's against that background that we have resolved to call an emergency stakeholder engagement tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. to address this impasse. We have invited the members of SEC here. You can see the Deputy Lord Mayor and the Executive Secretary is here. We have invited the Speaker, KCCA, Deputy Speaker, and all the councillors. We have also invited all mayors of the Division Urban Council, the speakers of the Division Urban Councils, and obviously, actually I should have started with the MPs, all the 10 MPs of Kampala. We have invited all of them. We have also requested the RCC to be part of this engagement, because we want to put our heads together as stakeholders, as leaders in the city, and chart a way forward. This is not a matter that can be decided single-handedly. You realize that without the ED and Deputy ED, or the office of the ED being vacant right now, even the City Executive Committee meetings cannot proceed. We were meant to sit today ahead of some council sittings to have some preparations made, but we are constrained in that regard, given the fact that the Executive Director is central in execution of our business, and as I highlighted earlier, a key advisor to, not actually advisor, a facilitator, the key facilitator of the State Executive Committee meetings. So right now, ourselves, our hands are tied. At least formally, we cannot sit as the State Executive Committee without management. So this reinforces our position that we urgently need a stakeholders engagement. For the record, even the council cannot proceed, cannot sit. Why? Because business is generated from the State Executive Committee, and you have to do it in concert with the top management. And for that matter, we'll have no choice but to have a stakeholders engagement tomorrow. So hopefully colleagues who have been required to, or requested to be part of this engagement, will honor the invite. Keep time tomorrow at 10 a.m. to have all these matters thrashed out, so that we can move in tandem and take a single file direction as leaders of the city. That is issue number one. Issue number two, and it's, maybe let me say this. Actually, you have helped us highlight of the IGG or the IG. All we got are excerpts from that press brief or press statement by State House that they were sacked on account of gross negligence. Details, we don't know. So I don't know, you would be judgmental to say that they were just victims of before you look at the detailed report of the IGG. And it's the reason we want to make a call, a demand to the IGG. Make a public this report. This is not a report for Mr. Museveni. The IGG did not make a report for Mr. Museveni. Okay, fine. He's the first consumer of the findings. But now that he has acted on it, why don't you publish it? Why doesn't the IGG publish it? So that we are able to dissect it, to get to understand what constitutes that negligence, how they assessed it, and so on and so forth. Of course, for us, we know. I don't know what is entailed in the report, but definitely the reasons we have given you here. Misappropriation of 4.1 billion Uganda shillings meant for, that is annual allocation for maintenance of Chitezi. We have already said this. But we want to see how all these issues were analyzed, the verdict, and how the IG arrived at that decision. We want to get details. So we hereby demand that the IGG should make public the findings that were made in their investigation. In that report, we need to get a copy. At least you write it to us and share with us copies, but don't leave us guessing. The procurement of an alternative site for purposes of establishing a temporary or a transient dump site, because ultimately the solution lies in getting into a circular economy. We have no choice but to go into a circular economy. Circular economy where garbage is recycled, and we generate some other stuff out of it. So those are the long-term solutions. But in the immediate term, we agreed to procure our own land. And in the meantime, we had been advised that we needed to link up with the leaders of different authorities within the metropolitan area. We have done that. We are grateful to those authorities that have allowed us, for the time being, to use their dump site, particularly Katikoro. But the unfortunate bit is that they have indicated that the facility is full to capacity. I have here with me a communication from the MP, Mukono Municipality, the Honorable Betty Namboze, raising a number of concerns about that situation. And we are making arrangements. Very soon we shall be visiting that place, Katikoro. Arrangements are underway. Definitely we have to go there this week. Today is Wednesday, but before the end of the week, we will have visited that place. The same situation obtains at Katabi. It's a very small facility, 14 acres, and it is also plagued by some serious challenges. There was a meeting yesterday that was convened by the, is it third Deputy Prime Minister or whatever, I don't know, the Right Honorable Kadaga, calling for leaders of all these entities, the municipalities within the metropolitan area, and KCCA. From our side, we are represented by the Honorable John Mary Sebufu, who is in charge of planning and civil works, as well as our Minister for Social Services, the Honorable Namazi. And in that meeting, a couple of things were discussed as a follow-up because there was an earlier meeting. We shall be updating you what we will have resolved after visiting Katikoro, because we intend to visit Katikoro we will be letting you know how we are resolving this issue. But what transpired in the meeting there is what we want to relay to the public. It occurred that the issue regarding procurement of our own alternative site could not be resolved in that meeting. The Right Honorable Kadaga sent the delegation to here, to the Lord Mayor's Parlour, this very place, yesterday. Personally, I was away. I was at Popopo for Beni Chiwanuka Memorial Lecture that was presided over by the Archbishop of Kampala Archdiocese, His Grace Paul Semogerere. So I got information that the delegation was already here waiting for my attention, my presence. Indeed, I dashed up to this place. I found the minister had already arrived here with her deputy. The hitherto serving acting ED, Engineer Yimbazi, was around. Of course, even Dr. Okero, the sacked one, and other directors. They were all around here. I had my executive secretaries, 2 of them, who had also represented us at that meeting in the office of the Honorable Kadaga. So we sat in this meeting, this very boardroom here, and we had it now to evaluate the processes being taken in regards to procurement of our own facility. Yes, for the record, even the chairperson of PDU, that is Procurement and Disposal Unit within KCCA, Doreen Sambode, was also around. So we sat here, brainstormed about the progress so far made in that particular regard. Initially, you recall, we had given you the timelines that had been rolled out by PDU. They placed the advert in the papers on the 28th day of last month, asking for potential bidders to put in their applications by 2nd, which was a Monday, 2nd of this month at 10 a.m. That's when the bids were closed. They were supposed to be evaluated on 5th, and thereafter pronouncements would be made on 13th of this month. You recall we came here last week and indicated that we had lost trust in the process. It had been derailed, and we made a proclamation that the exercises should stop forthwith. That's what was declared here. Now, when we converged here yesterday, we had to get a report. Of course, the reasons why we stopped the process were put on table. So we were here, want to probe those issues. Why the delay? The chairperson of the evaluation committee, which committee actually comprises of other directors. The chairperson is Vincent Attain, and he's also the director of physical planning. We tasked him to give us the report, together with other members. The director legal, Frank Rusa, is one of them. So they were supposed to furnish us with a report. First of all, they had to explain why there was inordinate delay in finalizing the processes. And thereafter, they give us a report. Obviously, there was no satisfactory explanation as to why there was that laxity and inordinate delay. There was no convincing reason. We left it at that. Then we said, going forward, what is it that you people have done? Number one, they reported to us verbally that they have now finalized their report, and that They were submitting it. Actually, they had submitted it to the contracts committee, which was scheduled to sit yesterday. The contracts committee is headed by Abe Mugaria, who is in the Directorate of Engineering. No, Human Resource, sorry. He's in Human Resource. He's the Deputy Director, Human Resource, Abe Mugaria. He's the chairperson of the contracts committee. And that they were slated to sit yesterday and take a final decision. We went ahead to probe them on the content of the report because they had no actual text. Said, please give us key highlights of what is contained in that report. Of course, there were hesitations at the beginning, but eventually pressure was mounted on them, and that's when they furnished us with those highlights. This is what they indicated to us. Number one, that they had received 22 bids, that the PDU had moved, had gone into the process of assessing those bids, and they presented their preliminary findings to the evaluation committee, which worked hand in hand with the PDU in coming up with the final decision. That in their own assessment, considering the criteria that was set in the guidelines that were published in the notes of 28th, they had knocked off 21 bidders. Indeed, they indicated to us that actually there were not 22 as such, that some had done multiple filings. You'd find one bidder filing 3 applications. We didn't want to go into that detail. We said, okay, let's take them as they were presented. 22, they had knocked off 21. That some of these bidders had taken their applications to wrong addresses. Some had taken their applications to the ministry. Others had taken theirs to the office of the ED. Others, they did not go straight to the PDU as directed in the advert. So they were, disqualified. So they indicated that after knocking off 21, they remained with only 1, which at least had some reasonable standards compared to the rest, in line with the criteria that had been set. Unfortunately, this is what baffled us. We asked them, where is this land? He said, no. Yes, the land is in Dundu. Yes. They said the land is in Dundu. He said, wait a minute. Are you repurchasing our own land, which we already own in Dundu? We have 136 acres in Dundu. We had taken a decision not to use Dundu as a dump site or a landfill for reasons that were presented to you. One of which being the long distance, 42 kilometers. It's a long distance. It's in Mukono. And the criteria was very clear. Within a radius of 43 kilometers from the post office. I don't know whether it is still there, because we used to measure the distance from Uganda post office, Kampala Road. 43 kilometers. Now you are talking about Dundu, which is 42 kilometers. They said, but this is a very good land. If you visited it, you'll also appreciate. Actually, they said, you'll admire it. It's very beautiful. Said, we already have 136 acres. What baffled us the more is the revelation they made that actually they had approved purchase of that land at a whooping sum of 250 million per acre. 250 million per acre, meaning that if we were to purchase 200 acres, that would translate into 50 billion Uganda shillings. Oof. We felt like eating these people alive. Shockingly, they were confident in their presentation. They said those lands they disqualified, most of them did not have the right shape because we had indicated that it is either in a circular form or rectangular, whereby you would put the landfill at the center and then you use the outer area as a buffer. They said most of these 21 pieces of land they knocked off, their shape was like that of a snake, like this. They were in a snake shape, that they were not suitable for landfill with that shape of a snake. So it's only that land in it.